Do you still have a green firearm license in South Africa and think you are legally covered? There's been years of confusion, court battles, mixed messaging around green license cards versus white license cards. The reality could impact your legal standing today. In episode 10 of Legal Talk with Francois, I'm joined once again by Francois de Kock, and we are going to discuss this matter in quite a bit of detail in the hope of clearing it up for you once and for all. Francois, good morning and welcome.
Hi, Rian. Nice to be back.
Francois, let's kick off by going back right to the beginning. Can you maybe walk us through this whole original green license system that existed in South Africa? How did it work? What legal standing did those licenses have at the time?
So, Rian, before we had the Firearms Control Act, which currently, controls firearm possession and use in South Africa for the most part, there was a previous act called the Arms and Ammunition Act of 1969, Act number 75 of 1969. Now, that came into operation in June 1969, and it repealed and replaced the Arms and Ammunition Act 1937, which was in place before that. So I think we can forget about the one of 1937 for for current purposes. But since 1969, that was the legislation that governed firearms possession by civilians in South Africa. Those were the old green plastic license cards, or even the stickers that you had in some of the old blue identity books, but also in the green identity books that some of us still have. Those stickers that were pasted into your ID book, that also fell under the previous act. Now, this Arms and Ammunition Act was significantly shorter and had significantly less provisions than the Firearms Control Act that we have today. So in essence, there was significantly less firearms control under this act than what we have under the Firearms Control Act. In short, this act said in Section 3, it provided that a person who was not under the age of 16 years could apply for a firearm license, and then the Commissioner of Police could grant the license in his discretion. So there was also at that stage a discretion, but the provisions of the act were much less limiting, especially in this sense, as you can see, as it pertains to the minimum age. And in this legislation, there was no provision for the competency certificates that we have today or the proficiency training. There weren't category licenses, like self-defense or occasional hunting or occasional sport shooting, etc. And also there was no 200 round limit that applied to the possession of ammunition like we have in the new act that we've dealt with previously. And also there was no provision for anything like dedicated status, which now obviously is a requirement if you want to possess more than 4 firearms or hold licenses for more than 4 firearms. So in Section 5 of this act, it also provided that your license will remain valid until it is transferred to another person. So there was no requirement to renew the license after, like with the new act, either 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years. And it even made provision in Section 8 that another person without a license or any authorization issued by the police could possess your firearm for a limited time, simply based upon a letter of permission that you could give him. And then you could, for up to 14 days, essentially borrow another person's firearm. The police could grant you permission to do that for a longer time. And you were also allowed to use a firearm belonging to another person on land belonging to or lawfully occupied by, the license holder of the firearm, or even for protecting property or a premises belonging to or in the care of that license holder. So under the new act, as you know, you must have a license, permit, or authorization issued by the registrar or somebody delegated, in other words, by the police. No person may possess a firearm without that, and you can only under the direct supervision of another person use their licensed firearm. But in this previous Arms and Ammunition Act, you could essentially give your friend a letter and say you can use your gun for 14 days. So yes, as I say, the control under the previous act was a lot less significant. There were also some of the provisions that we see in the act today, as far as let's say stricter control or punishments that could apply for reckless or negligent acts with a firearm. The previous act also provided that you could be declared unfit to possess a firearm. And the interesting thing is that a court could declare you unfit even where you were not convicted of an offence. Under the new act, under Section 103, you have to be convicted before the court can declare you unfit. But of course, the police can hold a fitness inquiry under Section 102. This previous act also provided for such a fitness inquiry, although the provisions are quite different. It also had, provisions that the police could inspect your license or your firearm under certain conditions. You also had to report the loss of your firearm, but generally a much less stringent and strict regime. The one interesting thing is that under the previous act, your typical pellet gun would have to be licensed, and they were licensed in terms of this act. Whereas now it depends on the velocity and the size of the projectile. We've dealt with those definitions before, but now your typical pellet gun that you buy at the Koöperasie, you don't require a firearm license anymore because it's not considered a firearm under the new Act definition. But be that as it may, this Arms and Ammunition Act also had various amendments over the years. So some of what I said as to the content was slightly, changed over the years with various amendment acts. And then eventually this act and its amendments were repealed as a whole. In other words, the whole act was removed from the law books by Section 153 and Schedule 3 of the Firearms Control Act of 2000. And this Firearms Control Act, which we still have today, came into operation in 1 July 2004. So essentially, this old Arms and Ammunition Act is no longer law. You cannot get a new green license or apply for one anymore in terms of the provisions of the Act. But, and we will deal with that later on, there is an interim court order that provides that licenses issued under this old Act are deemed to still be valid. So that's why we have all the confusion, because we have many, many thousands of firearm owners who still have these green licenses. And as I say, there is this interim order, which we'll deal with in detail, that does cover them to lawfully possess a firearm in terms of that license, even though the law is no longer on the books.
Okay. So then along came the Firearms Control Act of 2000, and with that, the white card license system. What prompted that change, and how was that transition process supposed to happen for existing firearm owners?
So, Rian, I think the short answer for what prompted the change was politics, and I won't go into that. But if you look at Section 2 of the Firearms Control Act, which then replaced the Arms and Ammunition Act, the purpose of the Act is the following, and I'm going to quote, to enhance the constitutional rights to life and bodily integrity, prevent the proliferation of illegally possessed firearms, improve control over legally possessed firearms, prevent crime involving the use of firearms, control the supply, possession, safe storage, transfer, and use of firearms, and to detect and punish the negligent and criminal use of firearms, establish a comprehensive and effective system of firearms control and management, and to ensure the efficient monitoring and enforcement of legislation pertaining to the control of firearms. So that is what the legislature says the purpose of this new act was. And you can judge for yourself, but I think almost none of these aims have been achieved by the new act. In any event, this act came into operation, and it had certain transitional provisions to basically allow for, let's call it, the migration of licensing from the old Arms and Ammunition Act system to the new Firearms Control Act system, right? Now, Schedule 1 of the Firearms Control Act provides that any license which was issued in terms of this previous act and which was valid immediately before the date of commencement of the Firearms Control Act remains valid for a period of 5 years from the date on which this act comes into operation. That's the Firearms Control Act, unless such license is terminated, cancelled, or surrendered in terms of the act. So essentially, it said that once the new act comes into effect, you have 5 years to transfer your license to the new system or to apply for new licenses with the new requirements, with the competency and the numerical limits and the licensing sections and all of that. Otherwise, you would no longer have a valid license. And it also provided that you must, in a lawful manner, dispose of any firearms in your possession in excess of the number that you are allowed to have under the new act. In other words, under the old act, there was not this numerical limit. Let's say you had 5 or 6 firearms. Now the new act says you are limited to a total of 4 unless you have dedicated status. So you had to either do that or you must then surrender the firearms in excess of what you are allowed under the new act. It also provided that the holder of a license under the old act must apply for the corresponding license, permit, or authorization in terms of the new act within the period determined by the minister by notice in the Gazette. Now, they essentially determined different deadlines for different individuals depending on their specific type of license or where their name falls in the alphabet or where their birthday is. This was supposed to be a structure to allow for people to get online with or get in line with the new regime. And yes, everybody was then obviously forced to, within this time frame, move over to the new act, and the old licenses would then lapse when the new act came into operation. And the new act did, in fact, come into operation, as we said, on 1 July 2004. And as you can imagine, those 5 years have passed. And the question is, what now? But I won't get ahead of it. That is basically how we came to be subject to this Firearms Control Act that we are still subject to today.
So where did the confusion or the, I don't know if I should call it confusion or legal uncertainty or both, where did it start creeping in between this green and white license systems? And what were the key legal and administrative issues that caused this whole situation?
So in short, Riaan, it's because this whole transition process was in shambles from the outset. The new act created an administrative burden, I would say 100 times that of the previous regime. Hundreds of thousands of license holders had now to migrate to the new act. There were these new competency requirements for which you had to undergo the proficiency training. You had to motivate the firearm for the exact purpose. The whole administration process was significantly changed and expanded with the new act. And as you know, as it is still today for the most part, this was a hard copy process. So everybody had to go and stand in very, very long queues at police stations who weren't at that time yet properly equipped or trained or anything to deal with the new act. Not that I think, quite respectfully, they are today, but a lot of them are and have, with the passage of time, become very efficient in their job, even though they still work in a system which is unfortunately by its very design very inefficient. But that's not that's not on the individual police officers. There are a lot of them that I think are doing really well given this very difficult system. But you can imagine what a mess it was at the outset, and the police simply did not have the capacity. There were these long queues, missing paperwork. Many people had their licenses approved, but their license cards were never printed or they never received it. We still hear today of many instances where a person applied for a license under the new act, it was issued, and 5 or even 10 years passed and it expired without them ever having obtained knowledge of their new license actually having been successful. At the outset, the police also did not have an SMS notification system, or at that time anyway, to track the progress of your applications, with an online app and all of that, you can imagine. So essentially, the public wouldn't, and even if they all wanted to, they couldn't comply with this new regime. And thousands upon thousands of people were going to essentially miss this 5-year deadline, and that would mean they would all be in unlawful possession, right? So this prompted South African Hunters and Game Conservation Association, SA Jagters as we know them, to take the minister to court in 2009. And they essentially wanted these transitional provisions of Schedule 1 of the Firearms Control Act to be declared unconstitutional. They wanted green license to remain valid until the minister has rectified Schedule 1, either by amendment or by addition or by some other method. And at that time, the court then granted an interim order, Justice Prinsloo, on the 26th of June 2009. And I'm going to read that order in so that it's quite clear. Now, for interest's sake, this order says before the Honorable Mr. Justice Poswa, but that must have been some mistake because it was most certainly before Judge Prinsloo. In any event, the order says as follows. It is ordered that all firearm licenses contemplated in sub-item 1 of item 1 of the Schedule of the Firearms Control Act, Act 6 of 2000. Now, this is also a mistake because it's actually Act 6T, but in any event, shall be deemed to be lawful and valid pending final adjudication of the main application. The main application refers to the SA Hunters application seeking a declaration of unconstitutionality of the transitional provisions, etc. It further then says that this order shall operate as an interim order with immediate effect pending final adjudication of the main application. And then it deals with the aspect of costs, which is irrelevant for purposes of our discussion. So essentially what this order said is that all old Act licenses will be deemed valid and lawful pending the finalization of this court case and the other relief that SA Hunters wanted. All right. So that essentially had the effect that from the date of that order, your old green license would be deemed valid, despite the fact that this old act has been repealed and replaced and wasn't law anymore and still isn't. And despite the fact that the new Firearms Control Act applies to everyone, you could still hold your old firearm with your old green license with certain of the privilege attached thereto. The new act has certain provisions that says you cannot do certain things or you are prohibited from doing certain things. So even though you have an old green license, didn't mean you can now still borrow your firearm to your friend for 14 days based on a letter, because the new act expressly did not provide for that and expressly said you need a license, permit, or authorization. But essentially, you could still possess your firearm, use it for whatever lawful purpose, buy ammunition, etc. And that was essentially then the position at that point to say that if you still have an old green license, that license is kept alive until one day when this court case is finalized. Now, I don't want to get ahead of it, but until today, the court case has not been finalized and this interim order still stands.
Okay, I want to clarify that again, because the questions around this never goes away. It's April 2026. Is the legal position of the green license versus the white license that my green license is valid on this day? And if so, under what circumstances? I also want to ask you, let's say I had a green card license, but I was in the interim also issued with a white license. Is the green license still valid? Or am I now completely on the new regime and I must comply with it?
So, Rian, unfortunately, that is not a straightforward answer, although a lot of people will try to make it straightforward one way or the other. But the full answer is the following. There are two different scenarios that we need to distinguish. The one scenario is where you only have a green license, as you mentioned. You never applied for or you were never issued a new white license. And the second scenario is where indeed you still have your old green license, but you did apply for a new white license and it was issued. And it's then a second question whether that white license is still valid or not. Okay. But let's deal with the first scenario.
You mean whether the green license is still valid?
Well, no, let's say you have a green license, but now you have a white license which is still valid, or the white license might have expired. So even under the second scenario, there are two forms in which it can appear, if I can put it that way. But we'll deal with it now. Let's say you have only a green license. That license is still deemed valid in terms of this interim order of 2009. The future is uncertain as to how long that will be the position. We'll deal with the developments there in recent years. But if you only have a green license, there's no legal doubt under this interim order, you are still in lawful possession of the firearm, full stop. All right. Now, if you have a green and a white license, the police's view, which has been expressed by them in circulars, in certain policy documents, to a certain extent in court papers as well, is that once you've migrated to the new system, your green license, you've abandoned that and you can no longer rely on this interim order. In other words, whether it was in the past or now, you apply in terms of the Firearms Control Act and you are issued a white card license. According to their approach, your green license then falls away, and now you have to obviously keep your white license valid and renewed and all of that. All right. Now, where do I get this from?
Sorry, at that point, can I just ask you something that just popped into my head?
Sure.
Are we talking about the same firearm, green license, and now I've got a white license, or are we talking about different firearms?
Yes. So the whole discussion that I'm going to have now as to the current situation, white versus green, is let's assume it's in respect of one and the same firearm, right? Now, the reason why I say the police hold the view that once you've received a new white license, Firearms Control Act license for this particular firearm, your old green license for that particular firearm is no longer valid or no longer deemed valid under this court order. The reason why I say they have that approach is the following. Like I said, they've made that point in various forums and in various forms of papers, if I can put it that way. But there was a 2016, 3 February 2016 circular by the acting National Commissioner of Police at that point, Lieutenant General Patlane. Now, that circular was titled Renewal of Firearm Licenses in terms of Section 24. So it dealt mostly with how to renew your white license. But as part of this, it stated the following. In terms of the interim court order in the SA Hunters matter, the green licenses issued under the Arms and Ammunition Act 1969 remains valid. This order covers persons who at no stage migrated to the current Act of 2000. Okay. So in other words, it makes the point to say that if you never migrated or transferred to the new Act, only then are you covered by the order. That is the implication of what was said by the acting commissioner here, and this circular was sent to all divisional commissioners, all provincial commissioners, all the head officers. So essentially the whole police throughout South Africa supposedly received this notice. And that was essentially when, it might have been before that, but at that point it became clear that the police have started to follow this interpretation, right? Now then, on the 8th of May 2017, there is a different circular also from General Patlane, and that says the following. This document is titled Legal Developments in Respect of the Possession of Firearms. It says the following. When determining the lawfulness or otherwise of the possession of firearms, it is essential to not only keep in mind the relevant provisions of the Firearms Control Act 2000, but also to take note of the following developments which have taken place. Now, it says, firstly, cognizance must be taken of the interim order made in the SA Hunters application, which has the effect that the persons who held licenses in terms of the repealed Arms and Ammunition Act and failed to apply for the renewal of their licenses in terms of the Firearms Control Act, etc., remain in lawful possession thereof pending finalization of the court application. All right. And then it says the court application has to date not been finalized. And as I say, almost 10 years later, this is still the case. Now, what's interesting, this directive also from, or circular, also from General Patlane, and also sent to basically the whole of the South African Police Service, does not make the point that it only applies to people who did not migrate, or it only applies if you don't have a white license. So this would seem like it has a broad application to say that even if you have a white license, your green license can still be relied upon independent of your white license, essentially, right? But then there was a different one, 5 July 2019. That was from the acting divisional commissioner of VISPOL, which is Visible Policing, Lieutenant General Jepta. Now, that said the following. This is also titled Renewal of Firearm Licenses in terms of the Firearms Control Act, but then it also refers to this issue of green licenses. It says the following. The Pretoria High Court issued an interim order in 2009 to the effect that licenses All right, I'm not going to repeat all of that, but it essentially then says remained valid. This position will remain as is until the order is appealed. Now, this is an interim order, so the right process would be to finalize the main application, not to appeal it, but be that as it may, the police acknowledged that that was still the position. And then it here says the following, and this is important. It must be emphasized, though, that this order relates only to licenses that were never at any stage translated in terms of the Firearms Control Act 2000. Now, translated is a poor word choice, but we can use migrated or transferred, I guess. So this also makes it clear that their position is that if once you've gotten on board with the new process and you've been issued a license, that means that you no longer have your old green license. All right. So that's essentially the two positions, to say that if you have, like we said, if you have only a green license for a firearm, no doubt that you can still rely on the interim order. The future of that is uncertain. If you have both a white and a green license, if your white license is valid, the argument becomes a bit academic in a sense, because you do have a valid firearm license. But let's say your white license now expires. That's essentially where this debate comes up in practical terms, is to say that can I now revert on my old green license? Or essentially, while my white license is still valid, can I have two licenses at the same time? All right, so that's the debate. Now, the police's view, I think, is quite clear. As I say, this same view has been followed by them in different forums, and they've set that out in paperwork elsewhere as well. But we need to keep in mind the police don't make the law. This is indicative of the police's view, and it might be indicative of their approach. So it is valuable because it might indicate that in such a scenario, they might want to charge a person. And then obviously the question becomes whether they will be prosecuted and whether they could be convicted. That's a whole different discussion. But in practice, you could therefore say that even though the police's system appears to be set up to give effect to their argument, in other words, typically you would have a problem if you have, let's say you do have an old green license, but your white license has expired, and now you want to transfer the firearm to a different person or sell it to a dealer. Their system is set up in such a manner that they don't typically allow the transaction based on the fact that you now supposedly can revert legally on your old green license. All right. But we must also distinguish between the legal reality and the police's administrative system. That's not necessarily one and the same thing. All right. But we essentially have these two different views on it. There are opposing opinions on both sides, and there are experts or legal experts, you could call them, on both sides of the argument. There's, for instance, a senior advocate, Van Eden SC, who essentially prepared a legal opinion for, I believe, Mr. John Kotze attorneys and for NHSA at the time, if I recall. And he basically came to the conclusion that to say that nothing in this interim order and nothing in the papers that led up to that interim order being made an order of court qualified it to say that it would only be in the event that a person does not obtain a white license that the green license would still remain valid. On the other end of the argument, the atmosphere at the time was that they were seeking to find relief for those persons who couldn't take part in the process, or where it became clear they wouldn't meet the deadline. So it was typically intended, I would say, for somebody who did not get a new white license. But this legal opinion says that the order is not qualified and there's no exception or qualification, and therefore you could, in essence, have at the same time both a white license and a green license. Now, I've heard some attorneys argue that you cannot have two licenses at the same time, that they say that is impossible. I don't quite agree with that, because it's not impossible that you can have a certain right or privilege in terms of law, which emanates from two different sources, if I can put it that way. Sometimes you have a constitutional right that is expressly expressed in the Constitution, but also in legislation, that same right is typically then in a broader sense, but that same right is then recognized and provides you the right to perform a certain action or do a certain thing. So it's not unheard of that you could have two valid legal reasons for being in possession of something, number one. And number two, I would argue that you don't really have two licenses. You have a new license under the Firearms Control Act, and you have an old order that says your old license in terms of the act that's no longer law is deemed valid. So it's not that you have two licenses at the same time. You have a new license and a court order saying you may still possess your firearm under the old regime. All right. So be that as it may, there are these two different views on it. There have been, as you know, many high-profile firearms cases between SA Hunters and GOSA and other large organizations and the minister in recent years. But most of them dealt with either the renewal requirements under the new act. In other words, the renewal of your white card to get a new white card, nothing to do with transferring from the old act to the new act. Obviously, that issue does come up as it did in this police correspondence, which actually was supposed to deal mostly with the new act. But the point is, I'm not aware of any express finding where the court applied its mind to this exact argument and made an order to say, right, this is the position or that is the position. I do have knowledge of one or two matters where a person was charged with more than one offense, and one of those offenses was unlawful possession of a firearm, and then they did have a green license and an expired white license. And I even know of an unreported court judgment where the person was convicted of unlawful possession, but on the basis that he did not have a valid new white license, even though he did have an old green license. But if you read the judgment and if you look at the context, it's clear that the judge didn't quite apply his mind to that specific issue. He basically looked completely over the existence of the green license and only looked at the white license. And I think quite respectfully, that judgment was completely wrong. So at this point, there seems to be uncertainty to cut it all short as to whether your green license is still valid if you have a white license, and then, in other words, if your white license expires, are you now in unlawful possession? I tend to prefer the side that says that you can still then rely on your green license, you can revert back to it. But as I say, there are views on both sides of the coin, and the police tend to disagree with me on that.
This interim order for the green licenses, what are the latest developments on that order?
Yes, so obviously we said it's since 2009 that has been the position, and at some point something is bound to change. Now, I'm going to read you a letter of 8 September 2020, which was addressed to the members, or let's say to the controlling members of SA Hunters. And this came from the Office of the State Attorney in Pretoria. Now, the Office of the State Attorney represents government in litigation. So they were acting on behalf of the Minister of Police, and they say the following. They refer to this specific 2009 court order. They say, we write in connection with the interim order issued by Prinsloo J on 29 June 2009, as well as the outstanding main application. It is now more than 11 years since the interim order was granted. You have taken no steps to pursue the main application, and it is evident that you have no intention of doing so. In other words, they are saying to SA Hunters, you've now just you're now riding on this interim order, and clearly you're just going to leave it as is and never actually going to pursue the main application, and you are now abusing, that's what they are trying to say, this interim order, which actually shouldn't stand anymore. In the circumstances, we must assume that your organization has abandoned this relief. Where main relief has been abandoned, there can be no legitimate basis for keeping the interim order in place. The holders of green licenses who did not renew their licenses in terms of the Firearms Control Act have had more than ample opportunity to do so without attracting any criminal liability through 3 amnesties over the last 10 years, the latest of which is still in operation. They have no right to a firearm license, which does not have to be renewed in accordance with the requirements of the Act. Judgments of the Constitutional Court in your second application against the Minister and the Supreme Court of Appeal in the Gun Owners of South Africa case have now brought considerable clarity to firearms control in South Africa. The Minister wishes to bring finality to the outstanding issues of the interim and main application. It is necessary that all firearm owners be brought within the ambit of the current legal dispensation in order to promote public safety and the effective combating of crime. We accordingly propose that you consent to the discharge of the interim order and formally withdraw the main application. If this long-standing matter is settled on this basis, the Minister will seek no costs against SA Hunters. The matter can be settled on the basis that each party pays its own costs. Would you please advise us by no later than 17 September 2020 whether you agree that the matter may be resolved in the manner which we have proposed? If you decline this proposal or do not respond to it, we will file papers for the discharge of the interim order and the permanent stay or dismissal of the main application. In the latter event, our client will seek a punitive cost order on the attorney and own client scale. And then they go ahead, and that's more or less it, right? So they basically said, yeah, in no uncertain terms, that we believe you've abandoned your application, and therefore you cannot rely on this interim order, and therefore you must now agree that it be set aside. And the effect of that would obviously be that everybody with only an old green license, or let's say then with an old green license and an expired white license, would then automatically be in unlawful possession. And they threatened to to ask for costs on or costs on an attorney and own client scale. And yeah, be that as it may, the attorneys for SA Hunters then replied to this in quite some detail, and they said, no, we most certainly have not abandoned our relief. They pointed out that there were negotiations between them and the minister regarding the possible amendment of these transitional provisions. And the police never, came back to them on that. They pointed out that the police hadn't made their own proposals as to resolve the matter. And they also pointed out that the police never went to court to proceed with this application or to force SA Hunters to proceed with it. So they also just allowed the situation to continue. And essentially, SA Hunters said, listen, we are still absolutely relying on this interim order. And then followed some detailed negotiations in 2020 and 2021 between SAPS and the attorneys, the state attorney on behalf of SAPS and the attorneys for SA Hunters, and also then the attorneys for FASA, for the Professional Hunting Association, who were also involved. They were involved as a second respondent, I believe, in those proceedings. Essentially, these detailed negotiations dealt with a possible draft order that they could agree to, which would allow for the transitioning of old green licenses to the new system. And there were debates regarding the time. Obviously, SA Hunters wanted a long period, the police wanted a short period, and there was, as I say, detailed back and forth regarding that. Some of it also happened without prejudice, so we are not privy to the exact details thereof. And then, as far as I know, that died down. And what I can say with some confidence is that the legal position has not changed. So the interim order is absolutely still in existence. SA Hunters have made it clear that they've not abandoned any of that relief. I wouldn't know what is going on behind the scenes, but it's quite interesting that the police had a lot of initiative during 2020, at least, if you look at the correspondence and the approach that they took, that there was a lot of initiative to now finally get rid of this old green license regime and get everybody onto the new system. Yes, what I can say is many years have passed. The courts have, for the most part, upheld the provisions of the Firearms Control Act. There have been victories, for firearm owners and victories for the police. And for whatever reason, it seems that government believes that those two have to be on the opposite spectrum, whereas we could be allies. We don't need to be opponents. But be that as it may, the courts and all the way up to the Constitutional Court have found that the whole concept of renewing your license under the new act is completely constitutional. If your license has expired, and let's now forget about the green license for a moment, let's say you only have a white license and that is expired, the court has found that that license is expired and you are in unlawful possession. Luckily now there was a different judgment, the fidelity judgment, and there's a police directive which creates a mechanism for a person in that position to apply afresh for a new license. But the point I'm making is the Firearms Control Act has, to a certain extent, stood the test of time. Various aspects of it have been tested in the courts, and I think to now, at this point, think that we are going to see in this main application the transitional provisions or this or that being declared unconstitutional so long after the fact. I don't think that is going to happen. So yes, that's where we are now, but the future is quite uncertain.
So last but not least, if I am a green license card holder, what should I do now? What would your suggestion be? Because I think at most it can only be a suggestion. Should I convert? Should I hold? Should I take any specific legal steps? And well, you've just answered this, but I'm going to ask it again for clarity's sake. Do you foresee any changes or clarity on this coming in the near future?
So I think it's been answered to a limited extent, as you say, Rian. I think the new Firearms Control Act, I'm not saying that there are many provisions of it that I find very troubling, to put it lightly. And I think Section 102 is a good example where I think there's a lot of problems with the constitutionality or lack thereof. But for the most part, I think the Firearms Control Act has been here for a long time, and it's here to stay. It's not to say we can't work on improving it, but as you know, government are actively trying to make it 10 times thicker and make it even 10 times harder for us to lawfully possess firearms. So they obviously want to move in the opposite direction. So to answer the question, if you only have a green license at present, if I only had a green license for a particular firearm, it's clearly lawful. There's clearly no expiry date, but the future is uncertain. I would then not do anything, most likely. I'm not saying it's a bad idea to apply then for a new white license, but if it were me, I would rely on my green license. I do believe that in all likelihood, whatever happens with this main application or this or that, there will be provision made for a certain transition process, because there are still many thousands of people who have only old green licenses. And even if this interim order is discharged tomorrow, it would be unfair and for various reasons, I believe, unlawful to now suddenly criminalize them without giving them a transition opportunity. So I do believe that opportunity will come. So if it were me and I only had a green license, I would simply sit back and wait. But if you don't like the uncertainty and you don't want to be stuck in a position where there's going to be a deadline where you might have to go and stand in a queue, your paperwork might go missing, then you can obviously do your competency, apply for a white license, right? If you have a green license and a valid white license, I would suggest keep your white license valid. You've already gone through the rigmarole of doing the proficiency training, getting your competency, getting your license. So I don't think there's any benefit of placing yourself in a bit of an uncertain or risky position. Renew your white license, renew your competency certificate. That is what I would do. If you have a green license and an expired white license, then as you say, or as we discussed, there is this legal uncertainty. I think that you are still in lawful possession. I think it would be even more difficult, even if somebody were to say technically it's unlawful. You would still need to prove individual, criminal culpability to convict a person. But it's easy for me to make an academic argument if I'm not the one who gets arrested and has to make that argument in court and hope it works out, So you are at risk then. I'm not aware of general prosecution or a general court order, like I mentioned, or a judgment or a policy from either the police or the NPA to go and, arrest these people and try and prosecute them. But as we mentioned, the police's view is that you are in unlawful possession in that scenario. And yes, if you wanted to remove that uncertainty or that risk, you could fix the situation by applying for a new license under the fidelity order. In other words, your white licenses are now expired. You have the old green license, but you're not sure whether you can rely on it. You can apply for a new white license. You cannot renew your expired license, but you apply from scratch for a new license for your white firearm or for your firearm. Once that white license is issued, the risk falls away. What I can say also is that regardless of what does happen, at some point, and who knows when that will be, if this interim order is discharged and people must now transition to the new act, they will require a competency certificate. So it might be worth your while, even if you have only a green license, to consider doing the proficiency training, getting your competency certificate, because if you do it at a proper institution or trainer, it can only be to your benefit. I think it's the absolute minimum that any firearm, it's less than the minimum, quite honestly, but I think it's the prerequisite that any firearm owner ought to meet, even if it's not for legal reasons, because it's a legal, requirement, but for your own purposes and for legal reasons, in the sense that if something happens, you're going to need to explain why you did this and why you did that. So I think it's not a bad idea to get that proficiency training done, and have a valid competency certificate. Then whenever you decide to apply for the new white license, or it becomes compulsory to now transition based on the discharge of the interim order or whatever happens, you then have that first step of a competency already in place, and then you can hopefully get your new white license. And
Okay.
yeah, that's basically, I think, what I can tell you about that.
I hope that clarifies this matter for many of the viewers. And I hope the suggestions that Francois made there will also be helpful, if these are the questions that you are battling with. If you found value in this video, please like it, please share it, please subscribe to the channel, and please smash the bell icon so that you can get notifications of new videos coming out. Staying informed might just keep you on the right side of the law, and that's the main aim. If you're interested in any of the training offered under the Loan Operator Program, there is a description, or a link in the description below rather. Check it out, and we look forward to seeing you on a range one of these days. Francois, thank you so much for speaking to me on this Good Friday of the Easter weekend. Some of us never stop working, do we? Thank you for sharing this, and thank you for all the effort you put into preparing for this in order to try and make it as absolutely informative and up-to-date as possible.
Thank you, Riaan. I'm always open to also being challenged on my position, or being helped wrong, or being helped right where I am wrong. That does happen. It's not an irregular occurrence. So I also look forward to the input of the viewers as to what we discussed today. Thanks a lot.